without any further delay, come into the session. So over to you, Divyadi.
Thanks, Abhishek. Hi, everyone. Everybody, well, most of you might be thinking what this blah 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 is about because we got some feedback. I think people were asking what is this about, what is the topic, and I think you missed the hashtag that was there, which said Earth Talks. So this is something that is really close to my heart, and I'm happy that I got this platform to share about this. And sorry about this eyes. I've got a sty in my eyes, so pardon me if I touch it in between the sessions sometimes. Uh, so start about what this thing is all about. I mean, we are in the lockdown period, and you might have heard people talking about or news reports about how the earth is regaining back to its good self. Like the Ganga is now cleaner. Uh, Animals are coming out in the open. I heard my dad saying that he saw many snakes. He's in Kerala right now, and recently a lot of snakes have been coming out. So I was saying that maybe now the roads are not rumbling, so the snakes are coming out. So a lot of things are changing right now because of the lockdown, and that's because the world is changing. I mean, there's a slowdown that has happened. So I think this topic is the best to be discussed right now. Um, I have been, as a child, I've been very concerned about people littering on the roads. Or I tell my friends that whenever they throw some plastic out, I would tell them, don't do it. You can just take it home and throw it in the dustbin that is there at home. Don't throw it here and there. You are just destroying and changing the beauty that is there around and all this stuff. I used to give them lectures. So as a child, I have been like this. But if you see me at home, my mom would laugh when I say this example that when my bed was not made, like all my clothes were on the bed, things, particularly things at home and things that we use and don't use also, and a lot of consciousness developed. And this was, I think, way back in 2014-15 that I started my little research, watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to. And that's when I came across the waste management shared by Dia Johnson, and another one is Lawrence Singer. Both these people are living at different spaces, different countries in the world, and both of them were talking about zero waste, minimalism, and how to live a life which is simple and not complex. And this made me learn more, go deeper of how, as an individual, I can do something about waste management, how I can take care of the place that I'm living in. And what uh, uh, what this research also taught me were facts about decomposing, how many years things take. So I think, Abhishek, you can show that slide just to give you an idea of what different, how many years different things take for to decompose in the earth. Abhishek, if you can just show that slide. Yeah, so this shows the different years. So if you can see, a woolen socks takes up to 1 to 5 years to decompose. That's wool. Styrofoam cup, 50 years. Um, a fishing line, 600 years. So that's nylon, I think, the fishing line. And one another interesting thing that I found was glass bottle. It's undetermined. I mean, it takes 500 to forever years. That's what another picture that I saw mentioned. And this made me think more because when I saw Bia Johnson and the other minimalist people who were really going into minimalism, I saw they were using a lot of glass bottles. the whole trend of using glass jars to make something or store something, all these things are glass. And this here glass bottle is undetermined because it takes forever. I mean, it takes millions of years for for glass to decompose. So what if glass breaks? What can I do then? So all these questions were again coming into my mind. I mean, do we really need to do this, or is there some other way? Then there is disposable diapers. Yeah, I have a small baby, so this also made me started making me think and research more and how I can replace disposable diapers, because it takes 450 years and other such things. It takes years and years and years. It just remains there in the on the planet. When I was in Delhi, previously where we were staying, from the terrace, it's like the fifth floor. From the fifth floor, I could see the huge garbage dump where the municipality just dumps the garbage. The huge mountain heap. I could see it from really very far. And I was like, what is this happening? I mean, we are just throwing things. There is no segregation happening, even if the government is saying that we are doing things. There is not much that is happening at the government level or at the policy level. So what can I do about it? Is there something that I can do about it? And this research, again, it went further. I searched more about it, and there were a lot of counter arguments saying that this zero waste lifestyle is not going to work. It's not going to help the planet. Global warming is not something to be concerned about, because the earth undergoes change every so many millions of years. So this is just a phase. So there is nothing such as global warming, and all these counter arguments also I started learning. And that's when I came across this video. I'll just show you a part of that video, and then let's move forward with the discussion. The video is Before the Flood. It's a documentary, and it's by Leonardo DiCaprio, and he is interviewing various leaders across the world, and he gets to know about what is the condition in each country, what are the issues that are there, how can we cater to global warming, and trying to find answers. So let's watch a short clipping from this video, and then we'll go forward.
India is the world's third largest emitter, yet the country is struggling with massive power shortages and rolling blackouts.
India has consistently said that its biggest priority is development and bringing people out of poverty.
We care about climate change. But the fact is, we are a country where energy access is as much a challenge as climate change. We need to make sure that every Indian has access to energy.
From what I understood, there are 300 million people without power, without light here in India.
That's equivalent to the entire population of the United States.
नमस्ते, कैसी हैं आप? मैं आपको परेशान कर रही हूँ, मगर इनने पहले ये देखा नहीं है।
जी सुनीता, बहन ये क्या करती है?
Today in villages, Indian villages, you will find people take cow dung and they make what is known called cow dung cakes or uplas in Hindi, and they burn those. And that's their only source of cooking energy.
So they will make food now.
दूध वाला गोबर माचिस वाला ही
About 30% households in India are yet to have access to electricity. If you want to provide electricity to everybody, we have to ensure that our electricity is affordable. India has a vast reservoir of coal. We are probably the third or fourth largest reservoir of coal in the world.
Coal is cheap. Whether you and I like it or not, coal is cheap. You have to think about this from this point of view. If you created the problem in the past, we will create it in the future. We have 700 million households who cook using biomass today. 700 million households. If those households move to coal, you have that much more use of fossil fuel. Then the entire world is fried. if anyone gives you this very cute stuff and tells you, oh, the world's poor should move to solar, and why do they have to make the mistakes that we have made? I hear this all the time from American NGOs. And I'm like, wow, I mean, if it was that easy, I would have really liked the US to move towards solar, but you haven't. Let's put our money where our mouth is.
We have to practice what we preach. Absolutely.
I'm sorry to say this. I know you're an American, and please don't take this amiss, but your consumption is going to really put a hole in the planet. And I think that's the conversation we need to have.
Okay, I think there was a little more to it, which has been missed. But interestingly, I mean, there's a lot, this minimalistic attitude and all these things are being promoted majorly in the Western countries or in the developed countries where people are already crossed this phase which India is now facing. Like there are a lot of issues of electricity and other things, water shortage. So is it real? I mean, can we get there? That was a question that I was having. And here she mentions about having lifestyle changes. That is the only one thing that can be done individually, because blaming it on the government that you are not doing this, you are not doing that, or being an activist, not all of us can become activists, right? Each one has a calling. So, but we can do something about it on an individual level or at a family level. So we'll be looking at what changes we can do in the family level. This documentary was made in 2016, and in 2016 I also happened to read the encyclical, which was written a year before, but I hadn't read it then. And this encyclical was Laudato Si, written by Pope Francis, and there was a huge, media was talking about it, because media said that wow, this Pope is so good that he is talking about relevant issue and all these things. But the media was wrong, because it's not that the church was not talking about climate change and global warming and all these pollution issues and different things that are there. It's not that. Even the earlier popes have said it in their encyclicals, in their letters, in audiences. Even the Bible in Genesis 2:15 tells Adam, God tells Adam that you are now to till the earth and take care of it. So, I mean, it's not that we are not talking about it, but I think it's now become very relevant that we need to take care of the place that we live in. So, lifestyle changes, that's what we are talking about. And next slide, Abhishek, can you tell me? I'll just read. No, there is a quote that is there. So this quote is from Laudato Si, paragraph 18, which says that although change is a part of the working of complex systems, the speed with which human activity has developed contrasts with the naturally slow pace of biological evolution. Moreover, the goals of this rapid and constant change are not necessarily geared to the common good or to the integral and sustainable human development. Change is something desirable, yet it becomes a source of anxiety when it causes harm to the world and to the quality of life of much humanity. So change is required, but the pace at which this change is happening is coinciding with the natural pace at which biological evolution happens. So that's where the problem is, that we need to slow down. We need to really slow down in our consumption. We need to slow down in what we are doing, in the technological advancements that is happening. There needs to be a place where we are stopping, pausing, and thinking, and then doing. So let's all close our eyes. It's an interesting activity that we can do right now. I cannot see you all, but if you all can just close your eyes, and I believe that you're doing. And just concentrate on your breath. Just breathe in and breathe out and just concentrate on your breath. Whatever sound is coming, just cut down every sound that is coming and just concentrate on your breath. Okay, so let's open our eyes. We can do this every now and then when we think that we are just running around doing a lot of things and we need to slow down. So this is one activity that that is very simple and very doable to just stop, think, and then do. So another activity that I want to get into is, if you all have papers, or if not, you can do it later also. I have some paper with me. I hope you can see my screen. Sorry, I hope you can see the table that I'm working in. So I've taken a sheet of paper. We are going to make something. Yeah, this is paper is recyclable. You don't really have to make anything with paper, because you can just sell it off to the Raddiwala and he can just give it for recycling. But I just want to show you something that maybe we can do, and then get into the practical aspects of changing our lifestyles. So just take a piece of paper. This is from Midday, I think. So it's just half a sheet that is there, and roll it from one corner. So this one corner, you can start rolling the sheet of paper. And what is needed here is just newspaper, scissors, some Fevicol, and a cardboard circle, or anything, any other circular thing that you have, that you can stick these cylinders that I'm making. So I'll not show you the entire process. I'll just show you how it is done. So I've rolled this paper. This is the paper that I've rolled. This is the end part. I'm only just going to stick it up. So this is the rolled sheet of paper. Now you can use this rolled sheet of paper to make a lot of things. Google it, you will find a lot of things to be made from waste papers. So what I have done is, I have cut around 4 to 5 inches of this and made it smaller. So when you cut it also, you need to make sure that you're always using Fevicol so it doesn't open up. And made smaller cylindrical pieces. And as I said, I had a circular cardboard that I used. And this is the end result. And this is a pencil holder, which can be easily made. I mean, this is a very simple creativity that I have used using newspaper. I can use any kind of paper that I have at home. The whole point is that even God does not make us feel that we are trash when we are not being used. I mean, our purpose, we have a purpose. All of us have a purpose. There is an ultimate purpose, and then there are smaller purposes that we fulfill as we live our life. So this newspaper had a purpose. This newspaper had the purpose of giving news to the recipient, the person who's reading it, read the news, and that's it. That's the purpose that the newspaper has fulfilled. But is that all? As we grow, as a child, we have a purpose in our life. And as we turn teenagers, we have a different purpose in our life. As we grow into adults, we have a different purpose in our life, which leads us to the ultimate goal or the ultimate purpose. But at each stage, God doesn't say that your purpose is done now. I mean, just you are trash now and just leave us there. So why do we have so much of trash around us when we can repurpose things in our life, and we can reuse and remold and continue to use them for as long as it survives? So that's what again made me to think that we can do a lot of things with the things that are around us. In the Bible, God says that consider the lilies and consider the birds in the sky. I have clothed them and I have taken care of them. Then how much more will I take care of them? So God is, yes, it is talking about the worth of human beings, but then God is saying that I have taken care of these things. Then why should you also not take care of these things? Let's look at it this way, that if God is taking care of these things, He has created everything in this world, then aren't we supposed to? And just as Adam was given the work to till and take care of the earth, aren't we supposed to continue that? So always remember that each one in this world has a dignity, has a purpose. So we need to take care of each thing that is being made and not waste and use it for our own selfish desires. The Pope also says in his encyclical, I will just read it from where I have written. He says that if we approach nature and the environment if we approach nature and the environment without the openness to awe and wonder, if we no longer speak the language of fraternity and beauty in our relationship with the world, our attitudes will be that of masters, consumers, and ruthless exploiters, unable to set limits on their immediate needs. By contrast, if we feel intimately united with all that exists, if we feel intimately united with all that exists, then sobriety and care will well up spontaneously. So it's something that will come from within us if we realize that we are in a fraternity. We are all living in this planet. We have our own spaces. We need to take care of each one that is there and each thing that is there that has been given at our disposal. We are not masters, but we are caretakers. We are supposed to take care of it. So moving forward, how do we do that? How do we really get into this? We need to change our outlook and our perspective to doing this. So the first thing that we can do is, Abhishek, you can show the slide. Oh, that was not the first one. Anyways, I'll talk about this then. Do we have the second one? Okay, so there is a change in the order in which it was done, but okay, let's talk about reduce then. Okay, so I think I'll go with the order. Abhishek, you can show the entire slide. I can. Okay. The first one is refuse. So it's not reduce but refuse. Many a times exploitation happens because we are wanting more and more and more, and that's how we are exploiting things. We don't need it, but we are just like, I want that and I want that, so I'm just grabbing it and I'm just taking it. I get it home, and then it just stays there, and it's something that something that is not required. So we need to start refusing certain things, and we need to ask this question: is it really that I need? Is it really something that will add value to me? Do I really need it? So we need to really check on what I have already. So one thing that you can do maybe after the session or maybe in 1 or 2 days is open your closet, open your cupboards and see what you have. See what all clothes you have. Open all the cupboards, the bookshelves and everything, and see what all things you have. You will notice that there are a lot of things that you are not using right now. It's been lying there for a long time and you really don't need it. So the fact is that we don't need a lot of things. So now when you've done that analysis, you can then maybe give it away or something. We'll get to that, what you can do with these things. The next time you go and buy similar things, ask this question to yourself: do I really need that? Will it serve any purpose, or will it add value? Somebody's saying something. Okay. Now there are a lot of things that we can refuse, like buying clothes. We can refuse going out and eating. Maybe that's not what the youth wants, but many a times we can refuse going out and eating. We can refuse buying new gadgets, maybe, which I mean, if there is a need, then definitely go and buy it. But maybe we don't want a high-end thing to buy, but it's just out of fashion that we are wanting it. So refuse those things. These are things, but we can also refuse a lot of things that we feed our mind and our soul with. So because whatever goes into our mind is what will make us behave in a certain way. So during this lockdown, we might be spending a lot of time watching unwanted things, maybe having conversations that we are not supposed to get into. We can refuse all these things to safeguard our mind and our soul. And once that is done, once the change is made within, you will see the change in the environment also. So it's not just about the environment. Start refusing things that goes in your mind and your soul, that feeds your mind. Because when you become a new person, when you change your attitude from within, you will see changes in the way things are, the way you deal with. You will see changes in the way you approach things. So remember always that it's not just the things. There are a lot of things to do with us also. The second thing is reduce. So it goes with the first thing. Now there are things that you cannot refuse, and those are the things that you buy, but then you reduce your consumption. So is it required that I buy how many pairs? Can just people just put it up in chat? How many pairs of jeans you have, or how many pairs of shoes do you have? You can just type it out in the chat. I'll get a fair idea of how all these participants are here doing. If you want to share, or if you want to just unmute yourself and just say it out loud. How many pairs of jeans you have, or pants, or 6 pairs of jeans. Okay. And 4 kinds of footwear, 6 pairs. Okay. Too many pairs. Okay, 2 pairs of jeans and 2 pairs of shoes. Good. 3 pairs of jeans. Okay. Okay, so the most I think I've got right now here is okay, 4 shoes. Okay. Okay, great. So the most I think I've got here is 6 pairs of jeans. Now, for those who have written that, I'm not judging you or anything. Think about it. Do I really need the 6 pairs of jeans? Why do I need the 6 pairs of jeans? Is it because of the different colors? Who's that?
Joel Gapin and Chiriaton.
I understood. I understood. Okay. So, do you really need the 6 pairs of jeans? Is it because it's a different color? Each pair is a different color. So I need a little color. As Indians, we are all colorful people. My cupboard also has colors. When I was in school, I had maroon and black. These were my colors, and most of my clothing was in maroon and black. But now I have all sorts of colors. I think Indians have this one. This is a weakness, I think, for Indians, especially that we love colors, and we would want a lot of colors in our wardrobe. Shoes might be different colors. I don't know how many shoes, but guys would have less number of shoes than girls, I believe. But then there's a choice that we have to make here. And that's a conscious choice that we have to make. because if you're not really using it, the Pope also says, this is an interesting quote. I really like this quote. The Pope also says, I think he's quoting from somewhere else. I don't know if he has said it, but in the encyclical, it's written that when you're taking more, when you're buying more than you need, you're actually stealing from the poor. And when I read that, I was like, I mean, that is true, because I mean, they are not able to afford these things, but then, I mean, buy it and just give it to them maybe, but then do you really need it? That's the question. So those who have more pairs of anything, just open up your closet, sit there for some time, see what all you have, see what you, yeah, I post the quote here. 1 minute. Shall I share? I'll do one thing. I'll be sharing a list of all the research materials that I have, all the videos and all the links to websites and everything. We'll be sending you all these things. So in that, I will mention the quotes also. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So even those people who don't have those pairs of jeans, you might have something else that is more than what is required. I used to like a lot of pens, so I would buy pens like anything, different kinds of pens, until I found one pen which I really liked, and I would just buy that one pen, but many different. So in my pouch, you will see that I have that one pen, but I have 4-5 of them with me in the pouch. It's not required. So I had to reduce that. I had to reduce the way I bought things. Maybe buying bulk helps to reduce the cost. But then I don't use pens so much. So, I mean, the pack of 10 pens that I would buy would remain with me for 2 years maybe. So do I really need to buy it now? I can give it to anybody. It would hurt me if somebody didn't give back my pen, because that's my pen. I was so possessive about things. But giving it away is the best thing that you can do, right? So next we come to from reduce to reuse. As children, most of our families, we have seen that maybe younger ones have used clothes that were used by older ones. So it's like a pass on thing that happens in families. We Indians, I think, are there are a lot of memes that are made on this, that we use wrapping papers. We are reusing wrapping papers, and people make fun of us. But then I think that's a good thing that we are doing, that we are reusing things. And I'm so sorry. So once you start reducing, you will also see that there are a lot of things that you need to check whether you are just disposing it off just like that. When I started doing minimalism in my own life, I started seeing plastic all around me. I would just see plastic, and I was like, what is this plastic doing here? I mean, I just started hating plastic, and I was like, I don't want to see plastic. That concept of single-use plastic was not there at that time. I was like, I mean, even if I reuse this plastic, what am I going to do? How many things am I going to make, or how many times am I going to? And I just wanted to get rid of the plastic. And one plastic box that I had at home was the Naturals ice cream that we get in Bombay. It's well packed in a plastic box. And this was something new for me, because in Delhi we did not have plastic boxes. We had these brick ice creams which were wrapped in cardboard paper. So it's paper, cardboard, it will get decomposed. So I hadn't thought about it, but then this was like, so Emmanuel likes Naturals ice cream. So we had like a stack of natural ice cream plastic boxes in our house. We would use them, but we would not use everything. I mean, there's a limit to how much you can reuse also. So what do? I mean, do I stop eating Naturals ice cream? or do I just buy a cone and eat it there and come home? Then how can I have ice cream time with family? So all these questions were there coming in my mind. Then what I did at that point of time is I just like discarded all the plastic, extra plastic that we had at home, and I was happy. I've done my part. But then I started thinking again. I mean, it's going to come back again. What am I supposed to do? I started telling Emmanuel that let's tell Naturals Ice Cream that they should stop packing in plastic boxes. It never happened, but when we were thinking about it, Naturals Ice Cream changed their plastic boxes from white to black. So they were innovating, but they were not thinking about the earth. And I was so concerned, but I never took that step of telling them that, or giving them a feedback as a consumer that you can change this, you can change it for good. So I think that was one thing that I did not do, but I'm very motivated right now to do it. Send a mail. Maybe you guys can also support me in this and just send them feedback about changing their packaging. So we need to now start reusing the things that we are having at home. This is one bottle that I made. If you can guess what this bottle is, yeah. So those are pictures from my home in Delhi. Those are what my mom she does at home. She has been reusing her plastic, recycling her plastic. So this is a sauce bottle that I had. It's a glass bottle. It breaks easily, but then I didn't want to discard it because, as I understood, that glass does not decompose for many millions of years. So I'm just utilizing whatever I have. I had flowers on this, which is now not there. I used it for many years, and it's been there, adding some beauty in my house. Reusing something, repurposing, recycling something can also help you to reduce your reduce what you buy to gift somebody something. So this is a good gifting idea also. I mean, you can decorate it, add some maybe paper flowers or something, and the entire thing is reused. It's recycled, it's upcycled, and gift it to somebody. I think for youth, it's like, I mean, you buy for birthdays and for any occasions or something, you would like to gift somebody something. Especially for school kids, I think when we were in school. Now I don't gift much. I think a lot before gifting anything. I will think, will that person need it or not? But then I think as young people, we have a habit of gifting things to others. Reuse the things that you are having at home. Think about different ways in which you do not have to buy a new thing, but you can repurpose something else. Another thing that I want to show you is this that I made recently. I do a little bit of crochet, so I had some wool with me, and I had some rope with me, and this is a coconut shell. So this has a purpose why I made this. This is going to be gifted. So I have a purpose. I'm not just making things and just putting it here and there and just lying around. It's not that. There is a purpose for why I make these things also. So another thing that I made was this jeans bag. So my old jeans, when it had torn from different places and I couldn't use it anymore, I did not want to give it away also because it couldn't be used. So I cut it off, and I saw some YouTube videos where you upcycle jeans, and this is back. So this is a cloth. This is a cloth from. It's not a new cloth. It's an old cloth. So I had made a kurta out of it, so the rest leftover was there, and this is the jeans that I couldn't wear anymore, or anybody couldn't wear anymore. So and this I use to carry things. So these are things that even we can think of keeping the things at home. I mean, you necessarily don't have to just give it away. give it away so that another person can use it. Don't throw it to trash. Because there's another thing that clothes are the biggest trash right now. People are buying a lot of clothes because fashion is changing, trends are changing, and we want to be up to the times. We want to look cool and good and all these things. It's good, but then how much? How much do you change? Do you change every season? Do you need seasonal clothes, or do you need, like, okay, now a new trend has come? There was a time when bandanas were in fashion in my time, and I saw a lot of girls, they started buying scarves to tie bandanas. And the time when hipsters were in fashion, and everybody, I saw hipsters and dungarees and all these were in fashion, and I saw, okay, other people. I did not have a dungaree, so I did not I had one hipster, but I haven't worn it. I was like, that was the worst investment. So think before you actually go according to fashion also. Do you really need it? I mean, do Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs, I think they're very famous for the one costume the one attire that they wear every single day. They have the same color jeans, the same color t-shirt. I don't know how many pairs they would have, but then it's the same that they're wearing, and they made a mark. So what do you want people to know you for? Is it the changing things that you do? Is it what quality of life you give to things? What work you do? How you think and behave? Or do you want people to know you with the things that you use, with the gadgets that you use? I have friends who have who would change with every new thing that comes out in the market. They would change, buying a new bike, the latest model of bikes, or the latest model of phone. Is it really required? That's the question. So always get back to before buying something, always ask this question to yourself: is it really required? Do I really need it, or is it just that I'm wanting it? Can I make a stop to my desire, or pause and think? So the next thing is we've done refuse, reduce, recycle, and refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. And the last thing, which is like the best thing. Sorry, for reuse, I want to share another thing is, I was saying that as a child, we have taken clothes from our older siblings or our cousins who are older to us, and we've used it. But as we grow as adults, we don't easily do that. We don't want to share what other people have already used. It's maybe because we are growing up and we are like, no, I am an individual and I can take care of myself, and I don't want what people have used, the attitude. But it changes. I mean, it's easier as children to reuse what has already been used, but as adults, we make the choice of not reusing things. But I think it's a conscious thing that we can do, and we can start making that change even now. I use a lot of things that have been given. Even now, I use a lot of things which have been given from my cousins, or from my relatives, or even from people, friends who ask me, if I give it to you, will you wear it or use it? So I was like, yeah, I don't have any problems with reusing things. If you don't have the use, then you can give it to me, I'll use it. So I still practice that, but many of us do not practice that. So it's a conscious decision that you are taking as adults, that it's okay to reuse. It's okay to use something that somebody has already used. So I came across this year, I came across a project known as the Buy Nothing Project. It's very famous, not in India. It's famous outside in India. As again, I mean, a lot of things have come from the West now, because they have started thinking of the damage that they have done. So the Buy Nothing Project, they have a barter system. no, not exactly a barter. It's a give and take system where you're not paying anything for the things that you buy. You are only posting that there is a particular item with us. If anybody is in need of it, you can collect it. And if in that group somebody is there who needs that item, they can contact that person and get that item for free. It's absolutely done for free. There is no business involved here. It's an individual to individual thing. So I will give you the link for that also. Interestingly, when I saw in India how many people are doing it, it's not widely spread. You have in Thane, Vashi, and one more place in Bombay, and you have one in Bangalore and one more place in India. These are the, I think, 3-4 places in India where it's really working. There's a close-knit group in Facebook where people join and then they share items. So I think this is a good idea that we are going back to the older system of where we give things to the other person. Where barter system is like you give and then you receive something else in return. But here it's not barter. You are giving something out of your own free will. There is no exchange of money or anything else as gift or anything. It's just you need something, you get that. If you have something in excess, you don't need it, you give that. So that's the only rule in this thing. God also doesn't put us in trash after use. So he helps us to grow, to mold ourselves in whatever situation we are in. He accepts us the way we are. And he will not like discard us. He will use us. He will recycle us, upcycle us, change us into new beings, and then he will continue to be there and guide us and help us to live the life that we are living, right? So even for things, it's the same concept. I mean, you utilize the things up to the maximum level. So till we die, we are living on this earth and we are being molded, we are changing, we are growing. It's the same cycle that we follow with the things that we use. You use it until it lasts. So until it dies off, you use it, you utilize it. So find ways in how you can do these things. Now the last one, this is the most interesting for me, is rot. Yeah. So I started rotting food waste because again, when I did the research, I found out that the whole concept of segregation doesn't really work. There are various municipalities where segregation is done right at home, and the waste is given to the garbage collector. The garbage collector takes both these different packets, keeps it in his garbage bin, and takes it to the place wherever it has to be dumped. He doesn't really know what is inside these packets, and then he would just throw it. I mean, it just mixes up again. So what's the whole point of segregating garbage at home and giving it to the person who collects it? So what you can do is actually rot these things at home and make manure, which you can use either in your own kitchen garden or small little space where you can have a small garden, or you can give it to the gardener or the mali that is there doing business and say that this is manure from kitchen waste, and he will be happy to take it from you. So you are taking care of the waste that you might give away, and that might get mixed up with other things and get toxic, and there's a huge pile of dump that is being there around the world. You see so many dumps will be there, and reduce this mountain of dump that is growing each and every day. So I really liked this idea and I started doing this. Now I have some constraints of space at home, but I do it every now and then. I don't do it continuously because I am not able to do it continuously, but I do it at different intervals. So even before this lockdown began, Emmanuel had gone out for a month, so we don't have a person who comes and collects garbage. So I had to go out every day. So I didn't want to go out, so I thought I'll start it off again, and I prepared a pot with some holes so that some air goes in, and started putting the waste every day. Whatever kitchen waste I have, I started putting that. I came across this site, dailydump.com, which talks about how you can, they are selling a lot of products also and talking about how you can really do this. And they were selling some remix powder, which I was thinking, why should I buy some powder from them so that my garbage turns into manure? So I did many more researches. So the basic things that goes into this pot to create manure is your garbage, your wet waste, the kitchen waste, not plastic or paper or anything, but your food waste, soil, little bit curd, and a dry sheet of paper so that the paper absorbs the extra moisture that is there. Now, this is wet. This is wet waste that you are using, but what you get will not be wet. It will not be like it will be leaking and it will be smelly and all these things. Nothing will be there. It's just soil that you will get at the end of 6 months. So in one pot, if you start doing it, it fills up. At the end of 6 months, you will get soil, which is actually manure. So it mixed with soil, it will be dry and it is manure. So it's really not smelly and it's good. My garbage is not getting mixed up with the other plastic and other things and getting toxic. So this was something interesting that I found and I started doing it. I am sure anybody can do this at home. If you can share it with your parents and start doing this, I think it will be, you will feel good inside also that you are doing something good about, and you are doing something good and my waste is not getting wasted. So start doing this at home. Again, I will share all the links so that you can also do your little research before you begin these things. Now, okay. So I think I've covered all the 5 R's of waste management. Yeah, so it is again going back: refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, rot. That's the order. It's just an order that all of us can follow. Now, saying all of this, it's not an easy task. I mean, you cannot become a minimalist or you cannot completely reduce your carbon footprint in a day's time or a week's time or a month's time. It really takes a lot of your conscious effort to make the change. It takes time in the beginning to understand the alternatives. Because when you see the zero waste movement, they are doing so much. And when you bring it to practicality, you might feel overwhelmed with all these things that I cannot change the shampoo that I'm using. It's so easy for me to just get the shampoo and get the lather and I feel so good having the bath. I cannot change the soap that I regularly buy and just use anything. I cannot change the toothpaste that I cannot change my plastic toothbrush to a wooden toothbrush because it's not easily available and it's too costly. So a lot of things are not practical, but many things can be changed. So like we are all used to comfort levels. So you understand to what comfort level you are in, and then you slowly make the change so that you can sustain in that change. Because sometimes what happens, we make a drastic change and then we are not able to sustain in that change. So it's really important that you make the switch slowly. You understand each aspect of the change that you are making. So if you are trying to change, trying to rot the waste, you have to understand how it happens in 6 months time and really get into that habit of doing it. Or if you are trying to not use toothpaste and use some other alternative which is made at home, you really need to get into that habit and really feel good about using that other product that you are making at home or something. So you really need to understand each and every change that you are making so that you are not going back to square one. It's also difficult because there's a lot of availability issues. I also feel there's a lot of hygiene issues also, because if I go to the market to buy grocery, there's a lot of packaging that is involved, and I really need that pasta, but I cannot get it without it being covered in a plastic cover, and I don't want to take plastic home. So what do? Do I refuse eating pasta? I can do that, but then will I be happy? I really need pasta. So what do? So you can see who is the manufacturer, or just send a mail to them, like I said, Naturals ice cream, send a mail to them, consumer feedback, that if you can change the way it is packaged and things like that. So there could be some change there, but then you still are not getting your pasta. So it's not that you completely stop eating pasta, but maybe you reduce the number of times you make pasta at home. You make something else, you find an alternative. The other option is you find a grocery store where you will get pasta. You can just pick up the pasta and put it in a cloth bag or something. But in India, I think pastas will not be available in any grocery store like that. It will always be bad. So find the best alternative for you, which is considerate and which is consciously done to reduce your wastage. So at an individual level, do that. I really wanted to buy oil loose. I did not wanted to buy oil in packets, but in over here I didn't find anywhere oil which was loosely sold and hygienic. So I'm still wondering what I am supposed to do. I have not yet figured out a way. And then I come across a person in Kerala who remodeled his father's grocery store. So he was staying in America, and he got inspired by this non-wastage store where they have these bottles from which the grains will fall into the packets that you have got from home and things like that. So I'll again send you the link for that so you can see what it is. And he got inspired. He came back, and his father had a grocery store, so he changed the entire concept. And now, I mean, it's the same grocery store where things were sold loose, but maybe it was not as hygienic as it would be now. And he was reducing the amount of plastic waste that the grocery store was generating earlier. And now, so he did his part, and he had the space to do it. He had the money to do it, so he could do it. So I hope there are a lot more other people who will get these ideas of starting things that are more planet friendly, more user friendly. It will help us to reduce our carbon footprint also. Another important thing that you need is, I think, support from your family members, because if you're living in a family, you cannot do it alone. You need to really sell this idea to your family members also. I remember when talking about diapers, when I started, I was saying that I switched. I did not switch. I did a lot of research before my son was born about cloth diapers, and I started buying cloth diapers. And I had to convince my mother and my sister-in-law, and my mother was like, "It's cloth. I mean, how how good will it be? It will be a lot of fungal infections will be there, and all these things." So not convinced at all. But then I had to really take a step, buy the cloth diapers, use it, show it, and then convince people around me. So it takes time to convince and get that support. Now, most of the time, not at home. At home, he just uses once or twice the cloth diaper. But otherwise, if you're going out also, if it's nearby, I try to use cloth diapers instead of the regular diapers, which takes 500 years to decompose. So I've reduced the number of diapers that I'm using for my kid by alternating it with cloth diapers. So it's a matter of support also. Like, you have this idea, you want to change the way you and your family are living, you talk it out with your family, you tell these are the things, and then you gather that support, or you show them that, okay, this is how it helps, and then you get that support. So it's up to you how you work it out, but support is very important, because that's when you feel motivated also to do something, make that change. But we need to begin somewhere. We need to begin at some place. So I'll give you few tasks that you can do to begin this change. So the first thing that I said was to open up your closets and see what is extra in your closet, or see maybe there are clothes that you have outgrown, or you can give it away to somebody you're not using it anymore, or just examine your wardrobe and see what is it that you can do with it, and make a choice of out of these 5 hours that I've shared. Make a choice and do it. Now we need to check what is rotting in our bins. So we need to analyze our waste bin, what is going inside a bin. There will be a lot of plastic covers that are there, milk packets and oil packets, and maybe the fruits are coming in packets. So I recently got grapes. We had ordered online, so the grapes came in plastic container. I was like, why is this grapes in plastic container? And you could have just put it in a cloth bag or a different bag. Anyway, so you need to check what is in your waste and then analyze where you can change your lifestyle of getting that. So if it is milk packets, do you have a store nearby which gives milk loose, and you can take your bottles there and fill the bottles and come back home and get 1 liter or 2 liter of milk. It takes some energy from us. Yes, you will have to like maybe go every day, or maybe just go once in 2 or 3 days, get the bulk and store it and use it. So you're trying to find alternatives. The internet is full of a lot of alternative ideas. I've come across one channel which talks about having alternatives, not just minimalism. They say that it is not practical for many of us, it is not practical for different life situations, but the whole idea is that you try to figure out alternatives, and that's how it will work. Now again, these bins will translate into our hearts. As I said, what goes inside our mind and our hearts, what we feed ourselves with, also matters the way we behave, the way we speak, the way we are with people, the way we converse with people. So it's important to see what waste is going inside our heart and open up those bins and change the way we are feeding ourselves with. Change the things that we are feeding ourselves with. Maybe there are some things that we can refuse. We can refuse wasting our time by watching unwanted videos and reading unwanted things. We can refuse getting bullied by people. We can refuse a lot of things in our life. So think about what you can refuse. Think about what you can reduce. Maybe the time you spend watching TV, movies, series, anything. You can reduce that time. So be conscious about what you want to see, what you want to, what you want to talk about, and things like that. So reduce those things. Change and mold the way things go inside of you. So I have I really like books. I like physical books. I need books to read. I need books to write. I cannot do without it. I am still not a digital person. I do use a lot of digital things. I do read articles and stuff like that on my phone. But then it really doesn't make me feel good. So I would really still prefer a physical book rather than. But I can make a choice a lot of the times. Maybe I'm not completely changed, but I can still make a choice. Yeah, so you can reduce, you can do a lot of things. So everything that you do for the environment, translate it for your heart also, and check where you're going. The changes that you make within yourself will always translate in the way you behave with people, the way you consider other people, being more compassionate, being more considerate and loving. So that's it that I want to share. I know I did a lot of blah, 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 because this is something really close to my heart. And I always try to share with people about the alternatives that you can do. So if you have any question, a little longer time than was expected. But if you have any questions, you can ask those questions now. Yeah, so some things that I am doing, somebody was talking about clothes, giving away clothes. Uh, you can give away clothes to NGOs, clothes which are in good condition, because they give it to people who are in need. Please don't give torn clothes or clothes that have stains. It really is not good enough. You can use them as maybe pochas at home or anything that you can, or maybe you can cut off the good portion and upcycle, make something out of it. But I mean, NGOs do, and there's an NGO called Goonj. Uh, Here near, they have different centers, collection points, where you can just give the clothes there, and they will give it to the NGO Goonj, and they will use those clothes for different purposes. So if it is in good, really good condition, they will give it directly to the poor. If it is in like really little torn here and there, they will remake it into something and then give it. And H&M is also doing, we have given some good clothes to H&M also. We got these coupons from them where you have 15% off. So we gave it because I wanted to buy something, socks, particularly socks for my little one. So I wanted something, and that's why I gave them, and I got the coupon and I bought that thing that I wanted. So sorry, the thing that I needed. I really needed that socks. So so H&M is there. I think there are various other platforms also where you can give your old clothes. Anything else? Suppose nobody. Yeah. Okay. So one interesting question is, suppose I also had that question, that when we stop buying things, won't there be a surplus of things? It's true, there will be surplus, but don't you think that there are many people out there who are really not getting anything? So this surplus, if the people who are sitting there who know that, okay, this is going surplus, they give it off and not waste it, give it to the people who need it, just because it's not being sold. So I think, I mean, it's not an equal thing that, okay, there is something being made and everybody is getting what is being made. There is something being made. There are people who are getting it, and there are also people who are not getting it. So when we are refusing it, we are also creating a chance for these things to be given to those people. So let's look at it that way. Maybe if there are activists here, we can do something about it. But that is my answer. Anything else? Can you share again how you rot your waste at home? Okay, I have a pot, a large size pot. It's a plastic pot which was there at home for various plants that we have at home. This is an extra thing that we had. We made little holes so that there is some air there is some air circulation happening. Things that you need is the kitchen waste, the mud. You will need mud so that it is dry. The kitchen waste becomes dry. Little bit of curd. Every week, maybe you can add a little curd. The bacteria in curd has some effect on the on the on the waste. Yeah. So a little bit of curd. I will send you the video, and very descriptive video that is. And yeah, and dry leaves. Yeah, so have a bag full of dry leaves kept for rainy seasons also, so you can so dry leaves helps the moisture. It takes the moisture out. The paper that you're putting on top will also take the moisture, so you will get dry manure. It's not wet and running. Usually what happens is you put all the waste and then you get the wet liquidy runny manure. But this, when you put the dry leaves and the paper on top, the moisture is absorbed, so you get the dry thing. So I'll share it with you. Anything else? Electronic items, that's a good thing. I once saw that in Goregaon Seminary, the St. Pius College, there was just when you enter the college building, there is a bin that they had made, and it's for electronic items. and I was so excited. Wow, somebody's doing something about it. And I have so many chargers and maybe old phones and all which I'm not using, and I wanted to give it, but then the next time I went there, it was not there. So there are people who are doing it. Even I read somewhere, I don't have that link to it. I really would like it if I get it. In Santa Cruz, there is a collection point. Somebody is doing it. I am not very clear about it. I'll try to do that research and send it across if I find it. It's in collaboration with the Mumbai police. So I mean, because of data issues and all these things are there. So somebody who's doing in Santa Cruz is doing it in collaboration with the police. So I'll have to find out about this and let you know. But there are people who are taking electronic waste. The only thing we need to be careful about is the data that would be there in the electronic waste that are there. Also, we are not supposed to throw batteries with the regular waste that we are throwing out. We are supposed to discard it separately, which is not happening. So, which again makes the dump toxic. There can be surplus. Surplus means loss. Not really. Surplus can be given to those who are in need. So, yeah, so somebody sent, okay. Okay, so surplus doesn't always means loss. Maybe when we make that shift, there would be, okay. Somebody asked, surplus can mean loss, but surplus doesn't always mean loss, because surplus can be given to those who are in need. So, like I explained earlier, there is a segment of people who do not get everything that is being created. So you make that opportunity for them. So that quote that when you are taking things more than what you're required, you are actually stealing from the poor. Anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there are no questions, because you explained well everything. I mean, everything in detail with so much of examples that you do in your daily life also. So, yeah. So on behalf of we'll having a very important session, I would say, because at this time when we're sitting at home doing nothing, we could make use of these opportunities that we have, the ways that we have at our homes. We could really dig into our houses and see what waste we have at our homes and use it for things. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. We would like to hear it from you. We would also be having a feedback session after this. Feedback form will be circulated to the same email ID that you have registered with. And so thank you. God bless.
Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you Jesus Youth Mumbai for this opportunity, and God bless you all. We hope we make conscious choices.